Okay, I did a post about doing a new shear scraper out of a lawnmower blade. Okay, this is the one from the lawnmower blade. There's the center hole. This was not your everyday family mower or mower blade. This was a commercial unit that uses 3 blades. It was run up over some sidewalk slabs that were just a tad too high. Well, it kind of put a bow in all 3 blades. I got 2 of them. One I made my spindle wrench out of, which worked out nicely because I could just have, you know, cut out the whole part. This one, in order to get enough blade out here to be reasonable, I had to leave the hole and do it. I have a 3-inch tang in here. Okay, this thing's 7/32 of an inch thick. I don't know what kind of steel. I know I took a 20-pound sledgehammer to take the slight bow out of the blade. Actually, there's just a tad left. But I had it in a machine vise and beat on it. I finally laid it across 2 logs and smacked it with a 20-pound sledge. Got mad. Hasn't cracked it. Rang like a bell. I've run it on the belt sander to clean up the gook, and I slightly curved the tip and sharpened it to 45-degree angle. It's got a nice little burr on it. I used my CBN wheel on it. Didn't throw any more sparks than my Sorby tools do. This is one I had made some time ago, and it's made from a large machinist file. Same thickness. Now this one does throw more sparks than a Sorby, and it is of a more brittle nature. I would not recommend people new to turning to try using file tools. There are some turners, I'm one of them, that have used tools like this for 30 years. I've never had one break, but then again, I don't stab it into the wood like I'm trying to kill it. Anytime you use a scraper, it should always be used with a slight down angle if you're using it flat on the rest. Just a couple of degrees is all it takes. That way, if you get a catch, instead of being a serious one, it just throws the tool down into space, away from the wood. If you're jamming it in straight head on, you get a slight catch. Your first instinct is to freeze up on the handle and push down. Well, that digs into the wood. If you're lucky, the bowl goes over your left shoulder. It could break a tool like this, yes. But yeah, scrapers should always be used with a down angle. Now this particular one I wanted strictly as a shear scraper. It's going to have a notch taken out of this corner, like Richard Raffin's got, because it's very handy for doing bottom decoration on the bottom of your bowls and stuff, to give it that professional turned look. Instead of having to get out the spindle gouge or beading tool or whatever, you can just use the scraper, and you just take it in at an angle and give it a slight swing to the right, and you've got a nice little decoration. You can even do more than one if you want. But this is about shear scraping. I won't use the file tool. I don't want people grabbing for their inhalers. They probably will, even with this tool. I use this a lot of times on these maple bowls and my coffee wood bowls. I get some tear out. I really hate having to sand for an hour, so I will use the shear scraper to try and clean it up a little. Like right in there, I can feel it. There's some grain tear out. These are not used flat on the rest as a rule. Now you can in some circumstances, but not as a rule. These are used at an angle to make a shearing cut, hence the name, to gently shear the fibers. You're not cutting beef here. You're not at a restaurant. This is done with a light touch. You want to watch your horizon, which I usually, hopefully I do this without blinding everybody. I watch my horizon up here to make sure I'm not producing wavy lines by an unsteady hand, which I'm known for. Don't have to use a heavy touch. I'll get my hand out of the way. I'm used to doing it on top, but it's all you want to do is produce very fine shavings or dust. Now this is like a skew. When you're on the wood doing a shear cut with this, you don't want to go above center point. Preferably stay in the bottom third of the blade, because you're up on edge. You get up into here, there's nothing supporting the blade, and it's going to whack, slam it down on you. It's just going to grab it, slam it, you're going to end up with a big gouge. I try and stay bottom quarter to 5/16. You're taking light cuts. The burr will last longer than you think it will. Let me get my fingers out of the way here. But it's just down in the very corner down there. And that's what I'm watching, is keeping it in that area and not getting too high up. And that's what happens when you turn this curve, come up toward the top, the tool naturally seems to want to lay back and take the cut higher. Well, you have to control that. A little bit. Now if I was on the other side of the lathe, I'd put it in reverse and go for that. But it's just little gossamer strands of wood. Feels better. Yeah, I got a better angle on it that time. Oh yeah, much better. Now if you're near a foot where the bowl has curved down and you've got a straight edge coming out for the foot, when you go to shear scrape, You have to watch when you get near that foot, because if you lay it back too far, the edge of the blade's going to want to catch the corner of that foot sticking out. And again, you're going to get a catch and it's going to slam the tool backwards. Very unnerving, not to mention it doesn't do the foot any good. So when you get near one like that that has the edge of the foot sticking out, bring the tool up higher. Instead of a 45 or 30 degree angle, bring it up around 15. Stay in that bottom quadrant, quarter inch, whatever. I've got this rest at center line, or just a hair below. That tends to alleviate this wanting to dip down and get up into the top part of the blade. Now this tool, there's a lot of people that think this is a very dangerous tool to use. Homemade, made out of a lawnmower blade. Well, I will probably be doing another short video using this same tool in the bottom of a bowl. And I will deliberately make sure it's 3.5 inches past the rest. Am I tempting fate? No, I don't believe so at all. My file tool, I've had clear to the ferrule, doing the bottom of a large bowl. Again, I'm not trying to kill Attila the Hun. It's freshly sharpened, has a nice burr on the end. I'm down about 2 degrees. The cutting edge is at center line or a hair below. You don't bring it up above that point. It's the whole object. A slight down angle, the original negative rake, by the way. That's what you're doing. You're cutting it less than a 90 degree angle. I've had this one clear to the ferrule. I don't have any doubts whatsoever. This is actually a better steel than file for a tool. This is a very rugged, it's meant to hit rocks, concrete slabs, you name it, hunks of wood. It's meant to take a beating. It doesn't shatter. It's not an easy to break type of metal. If it was, there'd be a whole lot of people running around either no legs or only one leg because a lawnmower blade shattered and come spinning out of there and chopped their legs off. They have to be shatterproof. I was totally surprised at the damage done to the cutting edge of the lawnmower blade, but the actual blade just barely bowed. That was a very, very heavy hit. If it didn't break it at the mounting hole, it's not going to break. But yeah, that's the shear scraping. That's what the tool's for. I shear scrape the bottom of bowls. I don't use a gouge all the way to the bottom of a bowl. I don't have any gouges with that steep of a cutting end on them. I don't use that kind of bevel on my tools. So I take it down maybe 3/4 of the way on a bowl. Then I will use something like this. I also have 3/8 stick Sorby. Well, not a Sorby. This one's the Hurricane. This is the 3/8 Hurricane. It was a full round. It's been modified by me. It's more in the Richard Raffin style with a very long left wing. Works very, very well. I'll use that in some of the tighter bottomed bowls. But as a rule, the standard bowls that, salad bowls, things like that, soup bowls, I will use an end like this because I can get a nice sweep from center out to meet where I left off with the gouge. Again, they're not meant to be, they're used flat on the rest when you're inside. You never tilt these up inside. They're flat on the rest, you're inside. You've got the handle up, cutting it center line. You're angled down about 2 degrees. You get a catch, it just pulls it off into space. No damage really done. Other than it might make you breathe deep for a few seconds. But this is no different. Same thickness, just a little wider. Much, much tougher steel. So I'm sure there's some sissy Marys and some whingers out there that are going to go on and on about this is so dangerous. Well, they must have worked at some pretty pleasant places when they were younger. I didn't have that opportunity. We used the tools that we made or were available, and we did the job. Of course, I started my career as a mechanic before OSHA ever come into existence, so I never had a rule book to read. But that's the shear scraper. It works fine. Right here, oh, right there at that curve, I'm 1/2 inch. Out here, 3/4 of an inch from the tool rest. I don't have another piece of wood I can throw on there real quick. But I will do another video showing me using actually both my shear scrapers inside a bowl at the bottom and at least 3.5 inches past the tool rest. Am I trying to show off? No, I'm not. What I'm trying to do is show people that there's not one way to do something. There's not one way to use a tool. If that was the case, jobs wouldn't get done anywhere. There's many times I haven't had the right tool and had to make do. Did I like it? Not necessarily. I broke my fingers a lot. Got my hands smashed up real bad. But I got the job done. And next time I didn't forget to put the right tool in my toolbox. So, until I get the next video done inside the bowl, look for some commercial lawnmower blades, the heavy ones. From what I understand, they make them clear up to a 1/2 inch thick. I'd like to find one of those.